maybe you're getting frustrated and you're working, but doesn't sound like you want it to. You still have to sit down and work through that. And if you work every day, then things will happen. You really can't take days off.
1, 2, yeah. Come on. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yes, sir, you are tuned in. This is for the SB1200, ASR 10s and NPC heroes. This is for the crate digging, loop getting, sound manipulators, the Fruity Loop reasoning machine innovators that pump the bass and frequently freak the kick in a stand till it slaps in your speakers. The sound providers that make sure the song is tight. Shout out to the producers, beats grinding live. Shout out to the producers, beats grinding live.
Welcome to the Beats Grinding Life podcast with your host, Siren, a weekly interview podcast with inspiring music producers, where every week you will learn from a different music producer how to potentially take your music career to the next level.
Today's episode of Beats Grinding Life is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audio download and 30-day free trial at beatsbooks.com. Over 180,000 titles to choose from on your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Some recommended readings by past Beats Grinding Life guests like 48 Laws of Power, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The Secret, Tools of Titans, and The Song Machine are all available with Audible. Once again, go to beatsbooks.com to get your free book. What's up, Beat Grinders? This is another episode of Beats Grinding Life. I'm your host, Siren Beats, and with us today we have Premise.
Yo, yo.
Yo, what's up, Premise? How you doing, man?
Good, man. How about yourself tonight?
Oh, I'm great, man. Great, man. All right, Beat Grinders. Premise is a music producer that is from Philadelphia. He is a well-rounded producer that has mastered the art of combining old and new school elements to his music. He has worked with many legendary artists like Kool Keith and Freeway. He has also lent a hand in crafting beats for Mac Miller, Capadonna of the Wu-Tang Clan, Cassius, Pacewon, Hi-Rez, Komplex, and many more. If that's not enough, Premise also serves as a senior executive for the company built for producers, iStandard. Yo, what up, Premise, man? How's everything going with you, man?
It's going great, man. I appreciate you having me on the show once again.
Oh, man, no problem, man. It's definitely the pleasure is all mine, man. Just I'm so grateful to have you up on here. Like I told you before we started recording, man, I should have had you up on here a long time ago, man. What you do for the culture, man, and man, I'm just appreciative of that, and I'm sure that in this interview, man, you're going to spread a lot of knowledge to everybody. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
I sure hope so. Yeah, I sure hope so. Same here, definitely.
That's dope, man. Well, man, I just read an intro on you, man. I want you to fill in the blanks and just expand a little more, man, and let all the listeners know a little more about who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the son of a drummer. You know, music's been in my family for as long as I can remember. I was banging on equipment as a little kid. Had a home studio set up. My father had a home studio set up, so I was introduced to creating music at a very young age. Very well versed in all the different genres, and I think sometimes that comes through in my production. I picked up the electronic side of producing with FL Studio. I picked it up back in 2001. Started working while I was in college and just kind of learning how to make professional audio. Mostly self-taught when it comes to the science, the sound science, as far as the levels, and the science behind it is a whole different world than the creative side. However, they all work together. So I'm always working to just expand my knowledge, expand my toolbox, per se, networking with the right individuals, and I try to keep a close circle of positive folks around me at all times.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, thank you for that, man. We've got to definitely know a lot more about who you are, man, and just what you said right there, man, is definitely inspiring, and some of that we need to definitely do ourselves. Like you said, keep a positive circle and just try to expand and get better, man. So that's what's up, man. All right,
definitely,
man.
every day.
Nice, man. Nice. I love hearing that, man. Well, the first question that we always ask, I think that you already kind of already somewhat answered it, man, but I want you to just dig a little deeper, man. I'm going to ask you, man, how did you get into music production? What made you want to do this? I know that you said that you're a son of a drummer and you come from a musical family, but what was it that made you want to do music production?
Well, at a pretty young age, I guess I was about 12. The first CD I was actually able to purchase with the parental advisory logo on it was Nas, It Was Written, which I think many of us that are maybe in our early 30s, like myself, point to that album as a life-changing release. And from that point on, I really fell in love with hip-hop fully at that point. Like I said, I was about 12 or 13. So, around 14, I started writing rhymes, and I got real heavy into the culture. There was an after-school club in my high school called Lyric. We would have a classroom till 5 p.m., like once a week, every week. We would chill, we would rap, we would video, and I got immersed in the actual practice of the hip-hop culture in a very raw sense. From there, I wanted to pursue being an artist at first. I was caught up in the whole Eminem craze when I was 15 and really got turned on to wanting to be a rapper. However, I went to college in 2001 to Pitt, and that's when my roommate, was just playing around with this program, and it sounded pretty cool. And I looked, and it was FL Studio One, like the very first edition of FL. And I started, every night. I'd be in there in my dorm literally all night long for like my first 2 years of college. Really, that's what I really, people say that's what I really learned in college. Well, it really is what I learned to an extent in college. On an amateur level, I really wasn't making anything close to professional sounding for some years after that. But at that point, 18, 19, 20 years old, I knew that I wanted to pursue being a producer and kind of behind the scenes, out of the spotlight, but still have a hand in the vibe of the music. That's why the name Premise came along, because it's like the focal point of the story, just like the beat, the focal point of the hip hop.
Wow, man, that's awesome right there, man. The first thing I take away from that is, man, your CD collection started off great, man. I mean, it's wow, just Nas, It Was Written. That was definitely a favorite of mine coming up back in the day, man. I mean, like you said, it was one of everyone's favorites. It's a classic, man.
Really is. I still pop it on from time to time.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. But the story of you in college, man, I can definitely relate to that. I remember, being in the dorm room, banging on my boss beat machine, man, Dr. Groove beat machine, and like you said, man, that's one thing that you took away from college. And man, I mean, I don't know what kind of degree you got, or but you definitely got a degree in music somehow, and you're definitely using that in life, so
yeah, no question.
That's awesome right there, man. Okay, man. Well, we always ask, the next question is, what piece of equipment or software did you start off with? It looked like it was that Fruity Loops.
It was. Well, prior to that, actually, I was on a old keyboard from like the early 90s by a brand called Kawai, like Kawai. It didn't even have MIDI outputs. It was all like a standalone unit. Right. And before I picked up FL, that was the piece of hardware I was working on, making the beats when I was about 15, 16. My father had a Simmons kit drum set in his studio at home, so I would get on there and bang some beats on the Simmons kit, which was like the first electronic drum kit that was ever released was called a Simmons kit. Dope. I'm sure some of the producers listening probably have some of the Simmons kit samples in wave format, that they plug into their projects maybe. But that's really how I started. FL was kind of the second piece where I already had some hardware experience, and then at that point it was a whole new world at that point.
Dope. Okay, so you kind of had a background before you even got started on the Fruity Loops. So
yeah, absolutely.
So you were just using the Simmons for your drums, and then using the Kawai keyboard for your melodies.
Yeah, primarily, but there was also some drum sounds on the keyboard as well. There was like maybe 10 kits and a few different groove things. So I would record that live on it. My father had like an original 8-track Tascam tape recorder. Nice. Vintage tape recorder. We used to get really warm recordings. Really like a sound, that heavy analog sound. There was nothing digital about it. It was all analog. So That's really how I got started. So now with my music now, I try to still maintain some level of analog quality on my masters.
Right.
And I use different tools I can get into later, I'm sure, as far as what tools I use to capture certain vibes and certain sounds and warmth on the drums.
Man, isn't it crazy, man, that, we moved into digital because digital, quote unquote, sounds better, but, everyone wants that analog sound, just because it is warmer, like you said. It's crazy.
Really is.
That's dope right there, man. Okay. All right, man. Well, when you were coming up and when you were making beats with the keyboard and with your father's drum machine, and also on the Fruity Loops in college, man, who were some of the producers that inspired you?
I would say growing up, one of the primary influences I had, obviously, like most people, Dr. Dre. Naturally, when Doggy Style dropped and when The Chronic dropped, it was like very early in my development as a potential producer or artist. But Dre for sure, number one. And then also, Alchemist, as I got a little bit more into it. Alchemist has become probably my favorite producer. I like a lot of the artists he chooses to work with as well, and that plays a role. First Infantry is probably one of the best producer compilations ever released. I mean, the variety of artists. So Alchemist, Dre, Pete Rock, without a doubt. My sole influence in my beats definitely comes from the Pete Rock sound. But then even going further back than that, I was a Pac fan too. So many producers don't even mention SLP, but SLP was I mean, he crafted a lot of those Pac sounds that all of us love. So I would say those four would be the primary influences in my early years, and even now.
Wow, man, I love it, man. I love it because some of those producers are producers that are mentioned on here a lot. When I ask this question, you hear the same. Sometimes you hear the same producers mentioned, but I mean, Alchemist for some reason isn't mentioned that much. He's like your favorite producer's favorite producer,
Yes.
And then you said Easy LP as well, man. I mean, that both of those producers aren't really mentioned on here that much, but they're legends, and they've put in the work and they have classics to their names, man. That's what's up.
Yeah. For sure. It's all about when it comes to influences, a lot of us are a product of our environment, where, for example, like producers from the South might be more influenced by the Outkast type of producers, or the Dungeon Family, whereas up north it was a little bit different. But I feel like one that transcends that is definitely Dre, because he's, all coasts.
Right. And also Alchemist transcends that as well. He's a producer from LA that moved to New York. So, and he has a gritty New York sound, but also laid back LA sound as well,
Yeah. Yep. Working with like Evidence, for example, definitely.
Yep. Evidence, and then Mobb Deep, and, so. Yeah, for sure, man. Okay, well, man, I'm just gonna expand this question a little more, man. You said that you listen to many genres of music, and so you've only named hip hop producers that have inspired you, but I want to know some other producers that aren't hip hop producers that may have inspired you and your sound.
Yeah, no question. The producer of the Beatles that most people don't even really know about is George Martin. George Martin was phenomenal music mind, crafted a lot of the arrangements and that the Beatles put out, and doesn't get the proper notoriety for it. Well, at least in our circles in the hip hop world, but in the music world, it's a different story. Naturally, Quincy Jones is one that a lot of people will point to. Definitely, just listening to the textures. It's all about textures, really, when it comes to producer's original sound. For example, like Illmind has specific textures that you can always identify an Illmind beat. Just Blaze crafted the signature sound, and I think that goes across all genres too. So, definitely George Martin and Quincy Jones would be the top two I'll think of. Okay. But then, also I'm a big jazz fan too, so nice. I don't even know, as far as the jazz goes, who was producing some of the original jazz recordings from, say, like Charlie Bird Parker, Dizzy Gillespie. But definitely a big jazz fan too.
Awesome, man. That's what's up, man. Well, thank you for dropping those, man. I mean, you know, we hear Quincy Jones a lot on here. The Beatles producer. I think we've heard him once or twice, but yeah, thank you for dropping those names, man. It definitely gives us some homework to do and definitely do some research. So that's cool, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, man. Well, here on Beats Grinding Life, man, unfortunately, we like to talk about the hard times, you know, because the failures and setbacks are how we grow as producers and as people. So, man, I want to ask you, what is a major setback or failure that you've had that you've been able to bounce back from, so that way maybe we can learn from your experiences, and maybe we can somehow dodge the pitfalls.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, it's not all pretty. That's a good point. It's not always pretty. A couple years back, I guess it was the summer or the spring of 2015, I had been working on my i7 desktop for about 6 years at that point. All of my material was on the desktop, obviously. I had some things backed up, but I wasn't fully up to date on my backup. And I went away on a vacation, but I left my computer plugged in, and we all know that even if your computer's turned off, if it's plugged in and there's a power surge, it could fry your hard drive. Well, lo and behold, I come back from vacation, go to turn my computer on, and no dice. Completely won't turn on, off. I had a bunch of new material for a project I had composed that I hadn't backed up. I lost all of that, or I thought I did. So then I figured out a way to scrounge up some money, got a new Intel laptop so I could keep creating in the interim while I had to find out how to extract all the data. And, you know, I was very lucky. I did a bunch of research on through my Facebook friends and everything throughout the network to find out who could help me, and my buddy was able to extract the data off of it. But I lost a few opportunities as a result of that delay, because we know in the music industry, a deadline or a chance to turn something in, it comes as quick as it goes, you know. Right. So, or it goes as quick as it comes, rather. So, you know, that was a moment where I really tested my patience and my fortitude to just kind of get back on the horse and still be excited and inspired, because it kind of put me in a rut for a month or so in terms of creatively, while I tried to gather all my material back. But the lesson I learned from it is every single night, back your shit up. Every single night after creating, back it up. It takes literally 5 minutes to right click and then right click again and let it go ahead and do its thing. So that was a very trying time for me as a producer, for sure. Only time that's ever happened in like 15 years of computer-based work.
Wow, man. Yeah, man. We've heard that story about hard drives on here a lot. You know, and each time it makes me cringe, man. It really does, because I've experienced it myself. You know, a hard drive that just somehow died. And, you know, like you said, projects are on there. You know, all kind of materials on there, all kind of sounds are on there. And so, man, I feel for you. My heart goes out for you. But, you know, you learned your lesson. Like you said, you back everything up every single night. You know, so
every night. Even the sample chops. Because one thing that I didn't realize is, even though I recovered a lot of data, when I would go to open up the beat files after the fact on my new computer, it was searching for the files in different paths that didn't exist anymore. And a lot of those samples, when I chopped them, weren't saved, just the original. So I still lost a lot of material, or it pulls up and sounds nothing like it should sound. So, you know, again, my PSA again is back up every single night.
That's dope, man. Well, Beat Grinders, man, I hope you guys are listening. This is some great advice. You know, don't just do it when you feel like it. Just don't do it weekly. But Premise said every single night. So I'm definitely gonna take your advice and do that every single night, not just when I feel like it. So
for sure, man.
All right, man. Well, you know, like I said, man, that was a cringe-worthy story right there, man. So I just want to move away from that, you know. And so now we're gonna move into the greatest moment of your career. I want to know, what moment is the crowning achievement thus far that you've had in your career?
Well, let me just preface this by saying that, you know, I'm still far from where I want to be as far as a producer in terms of commercial releases that are with major artists. You know, I've worked with some great legendary names, but I'm still trying to get to that great achievement. However, so far to this point, the thing that really stands out to me is back in 2015, I'm just, you know, minding my business on Twitter in the morning, doing my usual routine where I start out, just check social media real quick and then dive into the creative side. But I see a message pop up in my Twitter box from none other than Kool Keith, who I grew up listening to Kool Keith. When I was in high school, I remember I had Dr. Octagon, and I mean, it was so different, and he just did not care about what anybody else was doing because he was doing him. He's always done what he wanted to do creatively, and he hit me up like, yo, Prem, send me some beats.
Wow.
Like, ho hum, no big deal. Hey, Prem, send me some beats. So at this point, I'm like, oh, man, like, I got to do this right away. So I go into my folder, and I, you know, pull out the choice joints that I had just been making that week and the week before that. What I felt like, you know, you always feel like as a producer, your newest shit is your best shit.
Right.
And I sent him a few, and he sent me back a verse recorded within like 45 minutes, man, in my inbox.
You're kidding. Wow.
Nah, man, dead serious. You know, just one verse. He was like, yo, get someone on the hook, maybe I could get someone added to it. And he ended up getting a dope rapper by the name of Headcrack added to it. Shout out to Headcrack. Headcrack definitely is a mover and shaker in the industry. He's on television, I think, now on his own show as well. And he got him on the cut. I got a dope hook laid down. We released the track. Keith helped promote it. I even put it as a bonus track on my release last July called The Unsealing, which was an instrumental tape. Unsealing was spelled like a ceiling above you, like UNCEILING. But anyway, that right there, when Kool Keith reached out to me, you always hear about the opposite. That, you know, producers reaching out to big names. So that was probably, that stands out to this point for sure.
Damn, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, you know, like you said, you grew up listening to this guy, you know, probably, man, wishing that he would rap on one of your beats, and all of a sudden, boom, you know, he's wanting your sound, man. That's dope right there. That's a dream come true, man, for many of us, man, and it happened to you. That's what's up. Damn,
no
man.
doubt. I mean, at first I was like double checking the profile just to be sure.
Right.
But, you know, because who knows with nowadays with the social media, the fake accounts. But I mean, it was as Kool Keith as Kool Keith can get. So that was pretty dope for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, you know, hopefully many of us that are listening, man, we can have a moment like that, man. And wow, thank you for sharing that, man. That gives us inspiration, man. And Beat Grinders, also, you guys can definitely go hear the song on Premises Beat Tape, The Unsealing. Go check it out it's on every platform, right?
Yep, every platform. All of them that we would be listening to nowadays, you can find it on there.
Okay. It's a dope project, by the way, so you guys definitely go check that out. All right, man. Well, you know, in that last question, man, you started telling us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis. You said that you start off by checking social media, man. I just want you to just expand a little bit on that and tell us what you do on a typical day, because, you know, you're doing big things right now, man, and a lot of us, we want to be on your level. So, you know, the best way to get on your level is to do the type of things that you do. So if you can just tell us what you do on a typical day, man, that would be great.
Yeah, no question. Well, you know, first thing, I don't usually wake up until about 11 or so, because I'm up till 5 o'clock every night. So I typically will sleep from like 5 to 11. As soon as I get up, gotta walk my dog and have my tea. I'm like an old man in that regard. I don't look at nothing on my phone when I first wake up. I just get up, have my tea, walk my dog, get my head straight, process some thoughts. Anything that's bothering me, anything that's bugging me, get it out of my system quick. And then I go back and check the social media real quick just to see, you know, Facebook real quick, Twitter real quick, IG maybe a combined 30 minutes. And then I turn off all that shit and I'm right on to the creative mode. I fire up FL Studio. I start out by just getting my ears working by mixing a few tracks or remixing a few tracks that have already been made, or I listen to the creative work I did the day before just to get my juices flowing a little more. And then I dive into the creative work for usually at least 2 to 3 hours, right, as soon as I get rolling from like 12 to 2 or 12 to 3, just making stuff, experimenting, seeing what I'm inspired by as I go through my sound library, or I pull up my VSTs that I'm working with, do some sound design, it's always different every day. Sometimes it's flowing quick and I got something finished in 45 minutes or an hour. Other times it's more like a labor of love. I think we can all relate to the waves that it comes in creatively. And then at that point, once I have something made and a few tracks mixed, I'll take a short break, let my ears rest for maybe 30 to 40 minutes at least. And then I dive into anything I have to handle for iStandard, because I do work with the amazing team we have at iStandard Producers. We have a phenomenal group of men and women that are out here just killing it for the iStandard brand. And so I always dedicate at least a couple hours a day to my iStandard work with the team. We're building a lot of great initiatives right now, so there'll be a lot to look out for from us in the coming rest of the year and into 19. And then at that point, I still, to make ends meet, man, I'm still doing part-time things. So I might go out in the evening, drive a little Lyft, drive a little Uber to balance out the financial aspect, come back at night and work all night on beats from like midnight to 5 a.m. as well. And then I'm back up at 11 o'clock, same thing. And that's every day, unless something special is going on with family or a special occasion.
Wow, man. That's awesome right there, man. I mean, that sounds like a grind. You're not wasting any time doing unnecessary BS, man. Wow, man. And what I like about it, the fact that you do have a part-time job, because a lot of us can relate to that. A lot of us, we still have to pay the bills and, provide.
Yeah, absolutely. It's real life. It's like I'm not at a point yet where I'm full-time on the music, but I'm very, very blessed to be in a position where I only have to maybe work a part-time. Right. As opposed to, I came out of college and I was working the full-time 40, 50 hours a week for a good 6, 7 years. And then I just got, we all get so fed up with not having our life to ourselves that, the change always starts with a decision, and we all have that decision. It's just about executing it.
Nice, man. Nice. And when you did make that change, was it pretty rough?
Initially, yeah, it was. I was living in Pittsburgh after college for a number of years. I had a nice 2-bedroom townhouse, and a lot of bills that come with it. And initially, it's funny how God works. I had been thinking in 2012. I had been thinking about quitting my job and just going full force, wholehearted on music, and just making it happen. And somehow, someway, every month, and lo and behold, I got laid off from a job. So I was blessed to get laid off, because then I was able to collect unemployment in that transition period.
Nice.
While I got things set, and I had a nice client base in Pittsburgh. I was recording a lot of artists in my home location in Pittsburgh, and creating and doing a lot of music business and working with iStandard and just trying to make it happen, trying to make it work. And every month I didn't know if I was going to pay the rent, but somehow, God provided it, and I stayed on it. I was still dealing with a lot of BS because I was still young in a lot of ways, and I was dealing with addiction and harmful, toxic relationships that would continually sabotage my progress. And you get to a point where, you're able to eliminate all of that, and that's when you really start seeing things positively progress the way you want them to.
Dope, man. That's awesome, man. There's a lot of gems in there, man. A lot of gems, man. Well, thank you for providing that answer, man. I know Beat Grinders, you guys can definitely take something positive away from all that was mentioned right there. I know I can. Just from one thing that you said, you didn't know how the rent was gonna. You didn't know how you were gonna get your rent. Also with the addiction, I'm glad that you were able to overcome what you did. But a lot of us are battling with some sort of addiction. It may not be, it may not be the form of drugs or alcohol or whatever. Some of us are addicted to social media or whatever.
Yeah.
But all of that, can hinder what you need to be focusing on. And so, I know I got my problems as well, man. And so, thank you for sharing that, man. And just, thank you.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a daily battle mentally for everybody, and one way or another, we're all battling something.
Yep, no doubt, man, no doubt. Okay, all right, man. Well, this next portion of the interview, man, I like to call in the studio. We would love to be in. Are you in Philadelphia or are you in Pittsburgh?
I am in Philly, right in the heart of it as we speak, man, right in the heart of it.
Okay. Well, man, we would love to be in the heart of Philly with you, man, working on tracks, but we can't make that happen right now. Maybe sometime in the future, but not right now. But the next best thing, man, is this portion of the interview where we get to find out what you do in the studio and what you do it with. So, you ready?
Yeah, go right ahead. Fire away.
All right, man. Well, I want to know, man, what do you do when you first start crafting beats? You have any kind of a ritual or anything, or?
I do. The first thing I do is I set up my signal chain. So I make sure that on my master channel I have my T-Rex 1 plugin, which is the ultimate mastering plugin. I mean, it's phenomenal. That's my end of chain destination for my music. So right before that goes my reverb. Right before that is my EQ, and I also have another really amazing plugin called a T-Rex Mic Room plugin, and you can simulate different microphone environments on your master channel with it. So I mean, it's really dope, man. It just gives you a lot of depth and options with your final mix, the way it's coming through the speakers. So I always start my ritual per se by lining all that up. I don't even save it as a sample because I enjoy the ritual of setting it up.
Right.
And then at that point, I'm just going through my sound database, whether it's some dope shit I've downloaded from Splice, which is an awesome platform. Use Splice. Definitely use Splice. Actually, go to the iStandard Instagram. Here's a little plug for you to get on Splice. We have a special deal. Go to the IG Instagram, or the Instagram for iStandard, and find the Splice picture and check out the special deal we have. Now get the sounds picked out. I chop up whatever I'm going to chop up, whether it's an original stem from another producer that I'm collaborating with, or a stem from Splice, or if I'm doing some sample-based work, some vinyl I might have ripped, or if I decide I'm just going to pull up a VST and just completely compose from scratch. I always start with just my metronome, my tempo, and just fooling around with some vibes and some energy, basically, and trying to get to a point where I'm ready to select my drums. And then I select my drums, I load up the FPC, which is like the MPC, but within FL.
Okay.
And I mirror the pads on my Akai Mini that I have. So I kind of use it, I guess, kind of like people use Machine, where my pads are mirrored up on my screen.
Right.
And I record live into FL. I don't use the patterns with the little squares. I record live right into the playlist.
Dope.
I find that the editability, the flexibility you have with your editing is way better and way more like you'd be working in Logic, I guess you could say, because I work in Logic sometimes too. And that's really how I get it going, man. I just kind of go with the flow and see what energy grabs me when I'm going through my sound database, which is hundreds of thousands of sounds I have that I haven't even touched.
Right, I bet, man. All right, man, I want to know what, you probably already mentioned it, man, but I want to know, what is a not so secret weapon that you have in your studio?
Definitely the output plugins, man. These things are amazing. They're amazing. I say it's not so secret because my IG, I'll post videos of beats, and usually output is one of the things I have up visible on the screen. Whether it's Exhale or Substance or Signal or the new analog brass and winds or the new analog strings, it's literally everything you could need instrumentally as a producer creating from scratch.
Dope, man. Yeah, I've yet to work with them, but I hear nothing but good things, man. So that's what's
phenomenal stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, really phenomenal stuff.
All right, what's all in your toolbox, man? What do you have in the studio? What's all in your arsenal?
Yeah, well, obviously we know the FL12 is what I'm on. I'm on the newest version of FL. I have the Intel i5 Toshiba laptop. I run it through an Axiom 61 keyboard for my keys. I also have the Akai MPK Mini as well, because I like the pad response on that. I also have a chord pad control that I might use because it's an old unit that I just like the feel of. I rip vinyl direct with the PT, I think it's the PT 101 Newmark, the USB vinyl ripper. I utilize that. And then at that point, that really sums up the hardware aspect. I do have an Akai interface as well. I have the Akai EIE Pro interface that I utilize, and a PreSonus HP4 headphone amp, and Event TR6 monitors, tune reference monitors from Event, which are old but effective. They're amazing monitors, and all monster cabling. And then I utilize inside the box. I love the T-Rex plugins. I have the entire T-Rex 5 suite. Shout out to Derek Floyd over at IK Multimedia for hooking the kid up with all that stuff. And then also, obviously, the output. I've been on heavy, all the different types of splice sounds that you can think of. I use some of the onboard FL plugins I use. Maybe I might use the FL Reverb or whatnot. But all my VST plugins for effects are mainly going to be T-Rex, Eventide, and Sound Toys as well. Sound Toys is super dope as well. So pretty much got everything I need, man. When I sit down, I'm rocking and rolling. I get into my zone. I did leave out. I got a pair of Bear Dynamic DTC 770 Pro headphones as well, which are great for reference monitoring.
Awesome, man. Awesome. First off, man, shout out to you, man, for thoroughly answering this question, man. I did not need to ask you what brand of anything, man. That was an awesome job, but man, sounds like you got a bunch of stuff in there to play with, man. It sounds like you could definitely have a lot of fun creating music in your studio, man. That's what's up.
For sure.
Nice, man. Nice.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Beat Grinders, if you guys found anything of interest that Premise has named, you can definitely go to his show notes on beatsgrindandlife.com, and I will provide links to everything that he just named. Well, this next portion I call In the Mix. I'm just going to ask you some quick questions. I want you to give me quick answers. But if you need to take your time and thoroughly answer a question, man, I completely understand, and we'll let you do that. You ready?
Sounds good, yeah.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Do you prefer making beats with samples or without samples?
Both. Just depends on the scenario. I've done both extensively.
Nice. What's your opinion on selling and leasing beats online?
I'm a big believer in the phrase "to each his own." So wherever an individual producer is at career-wise, if they feel that's the right decision, whether doing it or not doing it, that's completely their call.
Nice. I like that. Plug-in every producer should have in their arsenal.
Definitely T-Rex 5.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check that out, man, the way you've been talking about it, man.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, just the ability to monitor your mix and the different analyzers they have to see really where your mix is at. I mean, you even have options on the metering plugin to master specifically for the streaming platforms.
Nice. Okay. Do you have a book that you think every producer should read?
Yeah, I do. It's not really music related, but
that's all right.
I'm gonna probably resonate with a few of your listeners. Called The Pyramid of the Apocalypse. Check it out.
Dope, man. I have not heard about that. What's that about?
It's in the theological side of things. It ties together biblical belief with the ancient Egyptians and creates a theory per se that most people never even realize is very valid.
Okay. Well, my interest is piqued, and I'm definitely going to check that out, man.
No doubt.
Beat Grinders, I know that you guys are producers. You guys really don't have time to put your face in a book, and that's all right, because I know that you guys always have headphones on, and just like the book Premise named, you guys can get a book just like that. A free audio book from beatsbooks.com. You guys go to beatsbooks.com and get your free audio book. All right, man. Is there an internet resource that you use that you think every producer could benefit from?
Yeah, I know it's not super active anymore, but for a lot of years there was futureproducers.com, which is such a dope website for getting answers. I know it's still kind of memorialized, and you can find a lot of the info. It's just it's a timeless resource for audio recording, troubleshooting, pretty much for every type of software you can think of or hardware. I know it's probably still active a little bit, but the forums thing died down. But futureproducers.com, I mean, I still go to it sometimes if I had things I need answered.
Man, that's a huge resource. I mean, it was for me back in the day. I love futureproducers.com. Man, shout out to them, man. I got so many samples on there, man. I mean, you know, there's just so like you said, it's a great resource. Anytime I had a question, I would go on there and ask, and someone would answer it. I mean, I've had so many questions answered, and I mean, wow. I didn't think anyone would name that. Like you said, it's. I mean, no one has used that for a while. I haven't used it for a while. I kind of forgot about future producers, man.
Yeah, but I mean, as a resource for just like a novice getting started, all that stuff's still online to check out. So for any questions, and it's funny, it still comes up in Google results mostly at the top of the list if you type in specific questions about producing.
Nice. Well, thank you for that answer, man. That one definitely hit home, man. I mean, I spent hours on that site back in the day. So
yeah, me too. Me too, bro.
That's what's up. Okay, all right. I want to know, man, what four producers would you put on Mount Rushmore if you had the chance to?
Okay, all right. And this is any genre or hip hop?
Man, this is any genre. It's your Mount Rushmore.
Okay, all right. Well, then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Dre, Prince.
Ooh, nice.
David Bowie.
Nice.
And then, just out of respect from our earlier part of the conversation, I'm going to put Alchemist up there too.
Nice, man. That's a great Mount Rushmore, man. That's one that is unmatched. No one has ever said David Bowie. I think Prince has been mentioned maybe like once or twice, but and I don't even think Alchemist has been mentioned, which is weird, man. I mean, I just feel like Alchemist doesn't get as much love as he should. He's definitely a legend. And he's put in so much work over the years, but I mean, like I was saying earlier, he's like your favorite producer's favorite producer. You know, it's just.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if it was a substitute, potentially, if I had like a fifth, I would probably throw Timbaland up there.
Nice. Yes. Well deserving. I mean, a lot of people mention Timbaland all the time, but man, I love this Mount Rushmore, man. It's kind of different from what I'm used to hearing, man, and so all those guys definitely deserve to be up there. So thank you for that, man. That's a dope Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, it would be a rather interesting conversation at the bar if all four of those guys were standing around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's for sure, man. That's for sure, man. All right, man. Well, I want you to imagine that you just woke up from the perfect dream, and in that perfect dream, you had the perfect studio session. And in that perfect studio session, you had one artist, one producer to go along with yourself, one engineer, and one random person. Who are those four people going to be?
I would go. The artist would be Nas, just out of respect for the first CD I bought, and I'm a huge Nas fan. I would go Nas, Pharrell as the other producer to work with, and Young Guru would be my engineer.
Nice.
And random person, I would have Diddy in the room just for his input.
I like that, man. His input, and he would provide a certain energy too.
Absolutely. I mean, he doesn't get enough credit as a phenomenal producer, but Diddy has produced some of the biggest hip hop records that we can remember, back in the 90s, especially with Biggie. Right. So, he was responsible for crafting a lot of that. So, yeah, I would definitely want Diddy in the room.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. I don't know how that would turn out, man. I mean, but I'm sure it would be a phenomenal session, man. I mean, got Nas and then you with Pharrell. Both of you guys have your own unique sound. So just seeing those come together, man, would definitely be dope. And then Guru mixing it, man. That's what's up, man.
Yeah, bro. And if only this could be a reality.
Yeah, right. Well, I always say, man, hopefully it can come into fruition one day, man. All these guys are still alive. You never know. I mean, for crying out loud, Kool Keith hit you up. Who would have thought that would happen, right? So.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, man. Well, I want to know, what's your favorite song that you ever produced?
Favorite record I ever produced? I probably have to go with, it's a record I did for Hi-Rez over the summer. He's a super dope artist, Rez. If you're not familiar with him, it's Hi-Rez. We're working on an album and an EP for him right now as well. Nice. It's called I Got It. It's a track called "I Got It," and it's on all of the streaming services. Something about the track just really resonated with me, from the way its flow blends with the beat absolutely perfectly to the vibe on the record. Definitely my favorite record I've done.
Okay. Well, man, I'm gonna check it out. Beat Grinders, you guys check it out. Hi-Rez, I Got It, on all your music platforms. Yeah, that's what's up, man. Okay. All right, man. What's an album? What's an album that you recommend every producer should listen to, besides one that you worked on, and why?
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I mentioned it earlier, but First Infantry from Alki, right? You had such a plethora of artists on that, from Lloyd Banks to Mobb Deep to T.I. and the versatility that he showed on that, really, for me, that's the gold standard for the producer compilation album, which I think a lot of us have either done or flirted with the idea of doing. That's how one of my first releases I ever did as a producer was a producer compilation album. And that First Infantry record, that album was something that I referenced a lot in terms of when I was putting my tracks together, and every producer should pop that in if they have it.
Nice, man. Nice. Yes. I mean, and no matter what kind of music you listen to, I think that there would be definitely a few tracks on there that you can enjoy for sure, man. So
no question. The versatility is ridiculous on that. He shows why he can work with literally any artist. You want to have the ability to do that, but he has his own lane.
Yep.
So he can work with anybody, but it still sounds like Alchemist. That's really what I think all producers should be searching for within their creative self, you know?
Yep, definitely, man. Because, I mean, all the legends that you named within this interview, all the legendary producers that you named, I mean, they all have their own distinctive sound, you know? And I can tell that you're influenced by all of them because you have your own sound as well, man. So that's what's up right there,
Definitely.
man. Okay, all right. And Beat Grinders, if you guys haven't heard if you don't have the album and you want to listen to it, just go to Premise's show notes and I'll definitely provide a link for it so you can listen to it. So, all right, man. Well, I want you to imagine that you just woke up, man, and you lost everything that you had, except for your knowledge that you've gained over the years and $1,000. You woke up on a planet identical to Earth, so you don't have any of your contacts. I know that you've met a lot of people, man, over the years with iStandard, but you can't contact any of them. I want to know, what would you do in the next week to restart your career with the knowledge you've gained in that $1,000?
Well, with that stack, I would have to probably drop like half of it on a new laptop, and I know that wouldn't get you the strongest laptop, but it would at least give you a starting base. Right. I would definitely have to do that. Then, I would grab a cheaper interface, maybe something for like $100. You can find those cheaper, $149 interface, a little bit of cable, and that probably puts us at about $700 right there. Then the remaining $300, I would have to just figure out how to get my DAW set up. I know you could probably get FL for around that, and then I would just have to, at that point, utilize my skills with my knowledge about, getting free stuff as well, and then go back to work and buy the next round of equipment, which would probably be a little MPK or something, and just get it rolling from there. But definitely a computer and the DAW. That's where I would start.
Oh, okay. That's what's up, man. I'm just kind of surprised that you didn't say some of this money would go into a beat battle or beat showcase, just knowing your background with beat showcases.
Well, I can understand why you might think that, but in my mind, it all starts from being able to even be creative to begin with. So I would want to make sure that's set before anything. I want to make sure I had my ability to sit down and create once again.
Nice. Okay. All right. That's what's up, man. And the reason why I asked this question is because there are producers that may have lost some of their equipment and want to know how to get back into the game. And there's also people out there that want to learn how to produce and they just don't know which avenue to take. So thank you for providing that question, man. Or thank you for providing that answer. Excuse me.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, man. Well, I want to know, man, when it's all said and done, and when you're done with music, I want to know what do you want your legacy to be, and also what does legacy mean to you?
Well, I think that the most important thing to me is we touched on it about how producers that we've mentioned have their own sound. I want people to, when they talk about me in a legacy sense per se, it sounds funny even saying that, but I want them to say, oh, well, Premise had his own sound.
Nice.
You know, nobody sounded like Premise. He sounded like himself. He wasn't replicating anybody. His sound was his sound. And I want them to just remember the music with some sense of excitement to listen to it again.
Nice.
And really, when it comes down to it, I think legacy is just what you leave with people as far as what are they gonna. Your legacy is defined by what someone is gonna say about you when you're not in the room, or what, you know, God rest your soul, when you're gone.
Right.
What are they gonna say about you? That's your legacy.
Nice, man. Nice. That's a great answer right there, man. Well, man, it seems like you're definitely working on it, man. You're there. I mean, you do have your own sound, man, and just from hearing the Unsealing, man, I mean, it's a dope project, man, and you definitely leave people wanting to hear more. So that's what's up.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, man.
I know you listen to a lot of beats, so that's dope.
Yeah, man. No doubt, man. No doubt about that, man. All right, man. Well, you know, I want to know, man. I mean, just doing iStandard, you know, like I said, man, you are around a lot of legendary producers. You're around a lot of great producers. You're around a lot of just great minds within the music industry, man. And I know that you've received a lot of great advice, man. But if you could boil it down to just one piece of advice, what's the greatest piece of advice that you've received? And what advice would you have for all the listeners listening today?
Well, the greatest piece of advice, and this goes back to the iStandard community. I've been very lucky to get pretty close with Street Runner through the years.
Nice.
You know, as a mentor and as a friend. And one thing he told me that always stuck with me was, you have to do it every day. If you want to be a producer, you have to literally produce every day. And that could mean you sit down and maybe you're getting frustrated and you're working, but doesn't sound like you want it to. You still have to sit down and work through that. And if you work every day, then things will happen. You really can't take days off. There's no such thing. I mean, obviously that's different than the occasional recharge on a Sunday where you just kind of chill and watch movies with your girlfriend. That's different. But I mean, in general, working terms, you got to work every single day. And that really stuck with me when Street told me that. It's cliche, we all know it, but to hear it from somebody who has Grammys on the shelf and is still producing some of the hottest records in the industry, it's really the most valid thing. And that would be my advice to relay that right on, is you got to work every day and do you. You know, don't worry about what Premise is recording or producing, or what Siren is producing, or what anybody else is doing, or what sound they have, or what you hear on the radio. Just do you. And if the quality is there and you got your levels right and the energy is there and the emotion is in the music, your passion will come through the speakers and people will remember your work.
Nice, man. Nice. Well said, man. Well put, man. I mean, that's dope, man. I mean, again, we've heard that advice on this show before, but you know, I mean, you can't hear it enough. You know, you got to just do it every day. You got to work through it every day, like you said, regardless of whether you feel like it or not. You know, you got to do it. I remember Decap said, you know, he feels like the days that he doesn't feel like working on music are the days that he produces his best records. So, you know, you just gotta work through that feeling. And you know, this is not music related, but I do remember hearing, I can't remember which Olympics it was, but Michael Phelps, when he won a bunch of gold medals, they said he didn't take not one day off, not one Christmas, not one birthday, not one, you know, whatever holiday. You know, he was out there swimming every single morning. And so, you know, it definitely relates to what you just said. You know, you got to do it. So thank you for sharing that, man. And you know, I mean, you know, it's something that I know it needs to replay in my head all the time, because I'm trying to juggle things with beats, grinding life, and music, and you know, family. But you know, I'm definitely gonna keep that in the back of my mind. So thank you for that, Premise.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you as well.
Yeah, man, for sure, man. Thank you for that, man. All right, man. Well, I want to know, man, if there's any more words for the listeners that, you know, that you want to let them know Here's your chance to do it. If you want to let people know how to contact you, if you want to be contacted, man, you can. And also just let people know from what projects they should be listening to that you've put out and what they can be looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you can always get me on Instagram, Premise, Premise, just like it's spelled in a dictionary. On Twitter, it's Premise, and then the letter SNN, so like Steven, Nick, SNN. Facebook's more of a personal thing, but maybe you'll find me if you get lucky on Facebook. And last thing that I want to say to producers out there is, we all have family and friends in our lives that expect us to go the safe route, or hey, what's your plan B? Well, what are you gonna do if this doesn't work out? Don't let that ever deter you from what you're trying to do, and don't let that knock you off course. It's easy to get into your own head sometimes if your mother or your father is skeptical of what you're trying to do. But if you know in your heart that you're here to make music and share with the world what you're capable of creating, then nothing anyone's going to say or anything they can do or say to discredit what you're doing is going to matter to you, and it shouldn't matter to you. It's blinders up, head down, blinders up, nice. Basically. And if you do that, then you will see progress. And I'm still getting to where I want to be too. I mean, I'm far from where I want to be. I think we all have a next goal that we want to reach. But you're only going to reach that next goal if you eliminate the noise, or at least limit the noise around you. And again, the Unsealing is the project, like Siren mentioned. My website is on my IG, right on my profile. You can find my website, which has a whole Produced by Premise section on my website with a bunch of YouTube videos. You go on YouTube and type in Premise Production Discography. I have a playlist of like 40-something joints that I've done over the years on YouTube. And yeah, man, that sums it up. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
No, man, no doubt, man. Thank you for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I should have had you on here a long time ago, man. But it's all in God's timing, and this was a great interview. You were able to spread some gems, man, that I'll definitely be able to go back and listen to this many times and just get new stuff out of it, I'm sure, man, and new motivation to push me to that next level. So thank you, Premise. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, same here, man. Same here. Great interview, and it's a pleasure to talk to you and share some info with your community always.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Okay. And Beat Grinders, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Beats Grinding Life. Your listens are always appreciated. And if you guys found the show of any value, I'm sure you guys have, and I'm sure you guys are going to go back and take notes on this as well. But if you do, I want you to share this on all social media platforms, and also just give us a thumbs up or a like or a heart or whatever as well. And also tag me and tag Premise and let us know what you guys thought about the podcast as well. Also, be sure to rate and review this on iTunes. You guys know how it goes down. This is a mentorship, and this week you guys have been mentored by Premise. So you guys consider yourselves lucky, and keep making beats, stay on your grind, and live life. All right, peace, y'all.
Here at Beats Grinding Life, we want to thank you for listening to another episode. We want to know, what were your biggest takeaways from this interview? Just go to beatsgrindinglife.com and leave a comment on this episode's show notes page. Also, while you are there, go subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Just click the little button that says subscribe. If you could, please leave a rating and review. Rating and reviews are the best way to show your appreciation because it helps more people find out about the podcast. So until next week's episode, keep grinding.